Animal Tranquility and Decay by Wordsworth. The little hedgerow birds that peck along the roads regard him not. He travels on, and in his face, his step, his gait, his one expression, every limb, his look and bending figure, all bespeak a man who does not move with pain, but moves with thought. He is insensibly subdued to settled quiet. He is one by whom all effort seems forgotten, one to whom long patience hath such mild composure given, that patience now doth seem a thing of which he hath no need. He is by nature led to peace so perfect that the young behold with envy what the old man hardly feels.
Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea, but such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
Acquainted with the Night by Robert Frost. I have been one acquainted with the night. I have walked out in rain and back in rain. I have outwalked the furthest city light. I have looked down the saddest city lane. I have passed by the watchman on his beat and dropped my eyes, unwilling to explain. I have stood still and stopped the sound of feet when far away an interrupted cry came over houses from another street, but not to call me back or say goodbye. The further still, at an unearthly height, one luminary clock against the sky proclaimed the time was neither wrong nor right. I have been one acquainted with the night.
Lines composed a few miles above Tintern Abbey, on revisiting the banks of Wye during a tour, by Wordsworth. 5 years have passed, 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters, and again I hear these waters, rolling from their mountain springs with a soft inland murmur. Once again do I behold these steep and lofty cliffs, that on a wild, secluded scene impress thoughts of more deep seclusion, and connect the landscape with the quiet of the sky. The day is come when I again repose, here, under this dark sycamore, and view these plots of cottage ground, these orchard tufts, which at this season with their unripe fruits are clad in one green hue, and lose themselves mid the groves and copses. Once again I see these hedgerows, hardly hedgerows. Little lines of sportive wood run wild, these pastoral farms green to the very door, and wreaths of smoke sent up in silence from among the trees. With some uncertain notice, as might seem of vagrant dwellers in the houseless woods, or of some hermit's cave, where by his fire the hermit sits alone. These beauteous forms, through a long absence, have not been to me as is a landscape to a blind man's eye, but oft, in lonely rooms, and amid the din of towns and cities, I have owed to them. In hours of weariness, sensations sweet, felt in the blood and felt along the heart, and passing even into my purer mind with tranquil restoration, feelings too of unremembered pleasure, such, perhaps, as to have no slight or trivial influence on that best portion of a good man's life, his little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and of love. Nor less, I trust, to them I may have owed another gift, of aspect more sublime, that blessed mood, in which the burthen of the mystery, in which the heavy and the weary weight of this unintelligible world is lightened. That serene and blessed mood, in which the affections gently lead us on, until the breath of this corporeal frame, and even the motion of our human blood, almost suspended, we are laid asleep in body and become a living soul, while with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony, and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things. If this be but a vain belief, yet, oh, how oft in darkness and amid the many shapes of joyless daylight, when the fretful stir unprofitable, and the fever of the world have hung upon the beatings of my heart, how oft, in spirit, have I turned to thee, O sylvan Wye, thou wanderer through the woods. How often has my spirit turned to thee? And now, with gleams of half-extinguished thought, with many recognitions dim and faint, and somewhat of a sad perplexity, the picture of the mind revives again. While here I stand, not only with the sense of present pleasure, but with the pleasing thoughts that in this moment there is life and food for future years. And so I dare to hope, though changed, no doubt, from what I was when I first came along these hills, when like a roe I bounded o'er the mountains, by the sides of deep rivers and the lonely streams wherever nature led, more like a man flying from something that he dreads than one who sought the thing he loved. For nature then, the coarser pleasures of my boyish days and their glad animal movements all gone by, to me was, all in all, I cannot paint what then I was. The sounding cataract haunted me like a passion, the tall rock, the mountain, and the deep and gloomy wood, their colors and their forms, were then to me an appetite, a feeling, and a love, that had no need of a remoter charm, by thought supplied, nor any interest unborrowed from the eye. That time is past, and all its aching joys are now no more, and all its dizzy raptures. Not for this faint I, nor mourn, nor murmur. Other gifts have followed. For such loss, I would believe, abundant recompense. For I have learned to look on nature, not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing the oftentimes the still sad music of humanity, nor harsh nor grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels all living things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore I am still a lover of the meadows and the woods and mountains and all that we behold from this green earth, of all the mighty world of eye and ear, both what they half create and what perceive, well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart and soul, of all my moral being. Nor perchance, if I were not thus taught, should I the more suffer my genial spirits to decay. For thou art with me here upon the banks of this fair river, thou my dearest friend, my dear, dear friend, and in thy voice I catch the language of my former heart, and read my former pleasures in the shooting stars of thy wild eyes. Oh, yet a little while may I behold in thee what I was once, my dear, dear sister, and this prayer I make, knowing that nature never did betray the heart that loved her. 'Tis her privilege, through all the years of this our life, to lead from joy to joy, for she can so inform the mind that is within us, so impress with quietness and beauty, and so feed with lofty thoughts, that neither evil tongues, rash judgments, nor the sneers of selfish men, nor greetings where no kindness is, nor all the dreary intercourse of daily life shall e'er prevail against us, or disturb our cheerful faith, that all which we behold is full of blessings. Therefore let the moon shine on thee in thy solitary walk, and let the misty mountain winds be free to blow against thee, and, in after years, when these wild ecstasies shall be matured into a sober pleasure, when thy mind shall be a mansion for all thy lovely forms, thy memory be as a dwelling place for all sweet sounds and harmonies. Oh, then, if solitude, or fear, or pain, or grief should be thy portion, with what healing thoughts of tender joy wilt thou remember me, and all my exhortations. Nor, perchance, if I should be where I can no more hear thy voice, nor catch thy wild eyes these gleams of past existence, wilt thou then forget that on the banks of this delightful stream we stood together, and that I, so long a worshipper of nature, hither came unwearied in that service, rather to say with warmer love, oh, with far deeper zeal of holier love. Nor wilt thou then forget that after many wanderings, many years of absence, these steep woods and lofty cliffs, and this green pastoral landscape were to me more dear, both for themselves and for thy sake.
Sea Fever by John Masefield. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea in the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind song and the white sails shaking, and a gray mist on the sea's face and a gray dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again. The call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trick's over.
Ode to a Grecian Urn by John Keates. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou fostered child of silence and slow time, sylvan historian, who canst thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme? What leaf-fringed legend haunts about thy shape, of deities or mortals or of both, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady? What men or gods are these? What maidens loth? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, ye soft pipes, play on, not to the sensual ear, but, more endeared, pipe to the spirit ditties of no tone. Fair youth, beneath the trees, thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal yet. Do not grieve, she cannot fade. Though thou hast not thy bliss, for ever wilt thou love, and she be fair. Ah, happy, happy boughs, that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu. And happy melodist, unwearied, for ever piping songs for ever new. More happy love, more happy, happy love, for ever warm and still to be enjoyed, for ever panting and for ever young, all breathing human passion far above, that leaves a heart high sorrowful and cloyed, a burning forehead and a parching tongue. Who are these coming to the sacrifice? To what green altar, O mysterious priest, leadst thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garlands dressed? What little town by river or seashore, or mountain built with peaceful citadel, is emptied of its folk this pious morn? And, little town, thy streets forevermore will silent be, and not a soul to tell why thou art desolate can e'er return. O, Attic shape, fair attitude, with breed of marble men and maidens overwrought, with forest branches and the trodden weed, thou, silent form, dost tease us out of thought, as doth eternity, cold pastoral. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain, in midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all ye know on earth, and all ye need to know.
How Do I Love Thee by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight, for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely, as men strive for right. I love thee purely, as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs, and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall love thee better after death.
She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent.
Phantastes Song by George MacDonald. Sir Aglavale through the churchyard road, sing all alone I lie, little recked he where he yode, all alone up in the sky, swerved his courser and plunged with fear, all alone I lie, his cry might have wakened the dead men near, all alone up in the sky, the very dead that lay at his feet, lapped in the mouldy winding sheet. But he curd him and spurred him until he stood still in his place like a horse of wood, with nostrils uplift and eyes wide and wan. But the sweat in the streams from his fetlocks ran. A ghost grew out of a shadowy air, and sat in the midst of a moony hair. In a gleamy hair she sat and wept. In the dreamful moon they lay and slept. The shadows above and the bodies below lay and slept in the moonbeams slow. And she sang like the moan of an autumn wind over the stubble left behind. Alas, how easily things go wrong, a sigh too much or a kiss too long, and there follows a mist and a weeping rain, and life is never the same again. Alas, how hardly things go right, 'tis hard to watch a summer night, for the sigh will come and the kiss will stay, and the summer's night is a winter day. O lovely ghosts, my heart is woes, to see thee weeping and wailing so. O lovely ghost, said the fearless knight, can the sword of a warrior set it right? Or prayer of a bedesman praying mild as a cup of water a feverish child, soothe thee at last in a dreamless mood to sleep the sleep a dead lady should? Thine eyes, they fill me with longing sore, as if I had known thee for evermore. O lovely ghost, I could leave the day to sit with thee in the moon away, if thou wouldst trust me and lay thy head to rest on a bosom that is not dead. The lady sprang up with a dead ghostly cry, and she flung her white ghostly arms on high, and she laughed a laugh that was not gay, and it lengthened out till it died away. And the dead beneath turned and moaned, and the yew trees above they shuddered and groaned. Will he love me twice with a love that is vain? Will he kill the poor ghost yet again? I thought thou wert good, but I said and wept, can I have dreamed who have not slept? And I knew at last, or ever I would, whether I dreamed or thou wert good. When my baby died, my brain grew wild. I awoke, and I found I was with child. If thou art the ghost of my Adelaide, how is it? Thou wert a village maid, and thou seem'st an angel, lady white, though thin and wan and past delight. The lady smiled a flickering smile, and she pressed her temples hard the while. Thou seest that death for a woman can do more than knighthood for a man. But show me the child thou call'st mine. Is she out tonight on a ghost sunshine? In St. Peter's Church she is playing on at hide-and-seek with Apostle John. When the moonbeams right through the window goes, where the 12 are standing in glorious show, she says the rest of them do not stir, but one comes down to play with her. Then I can go where I list and weep, for good St. John my child will keep. Thy beauty filleth the very air, never saw I woman so fair. Come if thou darest, and sit by my side, but do not touch me, or woe will betide. Alas, I am weak, I might well know this gladness betokens some further woe. Yet come, it will come, I will bear it, I can. For thou lovest me yet, thou but as a man. The knight dismounted in earnest speed, away through the tombstones thundered the steed, and fell by the outer wall and died. But the night he kneeled by the lady's side, kneeled beside her in wondrous bliss, wrapped in an everlasting kiss. Though never his lips came to the lady nigh, and his eyes alone on her beauty lie, all the night long, till the cock grew loud, he kneeled by the lady, lapped in her shroud. And what they said I may not say, that night was sweeter than living day. How she made him so blissful glad, who made her and found her so ghastly sad, I may not tell. But it needs no touch to make them blessed who love so much. Come every night, my ghost, to me, and one night I will come to thee. 'Tis good to have a ghostly wife. She will not tremble at clang of strife, she will only hearken amid the din, behind the door, if he cometh in. And this is how Sir Aglavale often walked in moonlight pale, and oft when the crescent but thinned the gloom, full-orbed moonlight filled his room, and through beneath his chamber door fell a ghostly gleam on the outer floor, and they that passed in fear averred, that murmured words they often heard. 'Twas then that the eastern crescent shone through the chancel window, and good St. John played with the ghost child all the night, and the mother was free till the morning light, and sped through the dawning night to stay with Aglavale till the break of day. And their love was rapture, lone and high, and dumb as the moon at the topmost sky. One night Sir Aglavale weary slept, and dreamed wherein he wept. A warrior he was, not often he wept, but this night he wept full bitterly. He woke, beside him the ghost girl shone, out of the dark, 'twas the eve of St. John. He had dreamed a dream of still dark wood, where the maiden of old beside him stood. But a mist came down and caught her away, and he sought her in vain through the pathless day, till he wept with grief that can do more, and thought he had dreamt the dream before. From bursting heart the weeping flowed on, and lo, beside him the ghost girl shone like the night of a harbour's breast, over the sea of his dreams' unrest, shone like the wondrous nameless boon that the heart seeks ever, night or moon. Warnings forgotten when needed most, he clasped to his bosom the radiant ghost. She wailed aloud and faded and sank, with upturned white face, cold and blank. In his arms lay the corpse of the maiden pale, and she came no more to Sir Aglavale. Only a voice, when winds were wild, sobbed and wailed like a chided child. Alas, how easily things go wrong, a sigh too much or a kiss too long, and there follows a mist and a weeping rain, and life is never the same again.
Break by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Break, break, break on thy cold grey stones, O sea, and I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay. And the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill, but oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea. But the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me.
Composed at Cora, Linn, in sight of Wallace's tower, by William Wordsworth. Lord of the Vale, astounding flood, the dullest leaf in this thick wood quakes, conscious of thy power. The caves reply with hollow moan, and vibrates to its central stone yon time-cemented tower. And yet how fair the rural scene, for thou, O Clyde, hast ever been beneficent as strong, pleased in refreshing dews to steep the little trembling flowers that peep thy shelving rocks among. Hence all who love their country love to look on thee, delight to rove where they thy voice can hear, and to the patriot warrior's shade, Lord of the Vale, to heroes laid in dust that voice is dear. Along thy banks at dead of night sweeps visibly the Wallace white, or stands in warlike vest, aloft beneath the moon's pale beam, a champion worthy of the stream, yon grey tower's living crest. But clouds and envious darkness hide a form not doubtfully descried. Their transient mission o'er, oh say, to what blind region flee these shapes of awful fantasy, to what untrodden shore? Less than divine command they spurn, but this we from the mountains learn, and this the valleys show, that never will they deign to hold communion where the heart is cold to human wail and woe. The man of abject soul in vain shall walk the Marathonian plain, or thrid the shadowy gloom that still invests the guardian pass where stood sublime Leonidas, devoted to the tomb. And let no slave his head incline, or kneel before the votive shrine by Urie's lake, where Tell leapt from his storm-vexed boat to land, heaven's instrument, for by his hand that day the tyrant fell.
In Memoriam by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Ring out, wild bells, to the wild sky, the flying cloud, the frosty light. The year is dying in the night. Ring out, wild bells, and let him die. Ring out the old, ring in the new. Ring, happy bells, across the snow. The year is going, let him go. Ring out the false, ring in the true. Ring out the grief that saps the mind, for those that here we see no more. Ring out the feud of rich and poor. Ring in redress to all mankind. Ring out a slowly dying cause and ancient forms of party strife. ring in the nobler modes of life, with sweeter manners, purer laws. Ring out the want, the care, the sin, the faithless coldness of the times. Ring out my mournful rhymes, but ring the fuller minstrel end. Ring out false pride in place and blood, the civic slander and the spite. Ring in the love of truth and right. Ring in the common love of good. Ring out old shapes of foul disease. Ring out the narrowing lust of gold. Ring out the 1,000 wars of old. Ring in the 1,000 years of peace. Ring in the valiant man and free, the larger heart, the kindlier hand. Ring out the darkness of the land. Ring in the Christ that is to be. I wandered lonely as a cloud by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils.
All in the Golden Afternoon by Lewis Carroll. All in the golden afternoon, full leisurely we glide, for both our oars with little skill by little arms are plied, while little hands make vain pretense our wanderings to guide. Ah, cruel three, in such an hour, beneath such dreamy weather, to beg a tale of breath too weak, to stir the tiniest feather. Yet what can one poor voice avail against 3 tongues together? Imperious Prima flashes forth her edict to begin it. In gentler tone Secunda hopes there will be nonsense in it, while Tertia interrupts the tale not more than once a minute, and into sudden silence won, in fancy they pursue the dream child moving through a land of wonders wild and new, in friendly chat with bird or beast, and half believe it true. And ever as the story drained the wells of fancy dry, and faintly strove that weary one to put the subject by, the rest next time, it is next time, the happy voices cry. Thus grew the tale of Wonderland, thus slowly, one by one, its quaint events were hammered out,
And now the tale is done, and home we steer, a merry crew, beneath the setting sun. Alice, a childish story take, and with a gentle hand lay it where childhood's dreams are twined in memory's mystic band, like pilgrims, withered wreaths of flowers, plucked in a far-off land.
Holy Sonnets, Death Be Not Proud, by John Donne. Death be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not, poor Death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which by thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow, and soonest our best men with thee do go. Rest of their bones and souls' delivery, thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and poppy or charms can make us sleep as well. And better than thy stroke, why swellest thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. Thank you for listening to Rain in the Garden at the OwlbearInn. If there are poems you would like us to read here, please join our Discord channel and let us know. May joy find you throughout this week. Goodbye.